Here we are, another Friday, another Q&A session. You guys have sent in some great questions. We're talking about gig videos. We're talking about how to handle lots of orders. We're talking about lots of new and different things. So make sure you check out this entire video to get the scoop. That's right, and as always, my name is Joel. I'm a top-rated seller on Fiverr, have been since 2013, and every single Friday I answer questions like this from the comment section in my video. So if you want to have your question answered next Friday, be sure to leave me your comment down below and let me know what you're interested about. Could be anything about Fiverr or freelancing or even about the stuff on the shelves behind me, whatever it is. Ask your questions, I'll do my best to answer them and be as candid as possible. We're going to kick it off with Joe Moran. Joe Moran has a really interesting questions, and I'll just say this week's list of questions, there's a lot of them. They're great. You guys are really thinking hard about what we're doing with Fiverr and freelancing, and you're really digging into some really important questions. So I really am excited to answer them for you. Joe Moran asks, how important are Fiverr Gig videos? Oh, do they affect rankings or anything? Yeah, they do. I ask because all the top gigs in my niche don't have videos. In fact, I haven't seen any. He goes on to mention that he's in a graphic category where images of what you've done already speak more loudly than videos. And Joe, just let me answer the question unequivocally. Yes, gig videos are very important. It matters not what niche you are in or what you're selling. Gig videos are of the utmost importance. They could not be more important. In fact, in the eyes of Fiverr, your gig video might be the most important thing you do. It is you presenting your service to the world, trying to sell yourself and your product or service to your potential buyers. And as we all know, video is a powerful tool, probably the most powerful and compelling tool we have on the web. Written text doesn't help. Pictures are great, but a video is worth 1,000 pictures. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000 pictures because it's literally 24 little pictures per second. Anyway, yes, I think you need a gig video. No, I don't think the people in your niche are a great place to compare yourself. Why? Because you're not trying to do what everybody else is doing. You're trying to do the smart thing, whether everybody else is doing it or not. You're trying to do the thing that Fiverr wants you to do, the thing that will help you. And that thing is shooting a gig video. So I would implore you, shoot a gig video today, this week, get it posted and see your search results change. Does it affect your ranking or anything? Yes, Fiverr will rank gigs with gig videos higher than ones without. Now, if all things being equal and one has a gig video and one doesn't, of course they're going to promote the one that does because it's going to pull in more potential customers. So shoot your gig video, get it out there. I don't care if anybody else in your niche has a gig video or if it doesn't even lend itself to. Introduce yourself. As the designer, introduce yourself, then maybe show a roll of some of your work and then come back and talk at the end. That's what I do on my voiceover gig. I appear and say, hey, I'm Joel. I do voiceovers. Here's some samples, little 20 seconds of samples. Then I'm back. Do things like that, but you need a gig video. Thanks for the question. And thanks for thinking about it in a category where others aren't. Kristen Holt asks, hey, Joel. Hey. Thanks for your hard work on all these valuable videos. Well, thank you for saying so. I'm finding it consistently difficult to keep up with work these days. That's a really good thing, Kristen. That means you're sharp. It means you're doing a good job. And after raising my prices, I'm still busy. I'm thinking of adding people like editors to my team. Where have you had success in hiring people? Kristen, this is a great question. First off, bravo, you're doing a great job. If you've raised your prices and you're consistently finding it difficult to keep up with work, then you're doing something right. The first thing I'll say is that there may be a question you're not asking here that I'll answer for you, and that is, do you need to raise your prices again? I know raising prices can be a scary thing, but oftentimes raising prices and still being busy means you're probably not high enough yet. If the demand is still overwhelming, take a look at your market, take a look around. How do you feel about where you are with your prices right now? Are you at the tippy top, way more expensive than everybody else, or are you somewhere in the mix? Are there still more people more expensive than you that do what you do? Maybe you could raise your prices again, because when you start to add people, And I'm going to do a whole video about this at some point, going from one person to a team of people. That's what I've done over the last 10 years or so. I was solo for 3, 4, maybe even close to 5 years. Then I started adding other people to help me with the work. Now I have a team of 6 that's a small business, and it's a lot to manage. There are days, even though I love my team, and I do, I have wonderful people on my team, there are days when I say this would be easier if it was just me, because managing people is messy, and it's hard when someone you hire to do something makes a mistake. They're going to. They're human. You better get ready for it. And there are times when it feels easier to just do it yourself. Now, when you're all by yourself, you don't have anybody to help you carry the load. You don't get a lot of time off. If you're not doing something, nothing gets done. And so that's the big downside to not having a team. And starting to build one makes you look smarter in 3, 4, 5 years down the road. It's hard now, but it'll be worth it in the long run. And I can definitely tell you that that's the case for me. So I would first ask the question, is it time for you to add team members? Meaning, is your pricing right? Because another price increase could maybe take your busyness down a little bit and allow you to earn the same, if not more money. Ask yourself that question first. But if you think you're ready to hire a team member, I believe the question she's asking is, where have you had success in hiring people? I believe she's asking about where I found people to hire, but it's possible she's asking about like where in the business, where in the process. So I'll answer both of them. The first thing, in the process, it's easiest to hire people to help you communicate with buyers, I think, because one thing that high grossing sellers, people that sell a lot on Fiverr, struggle with is communication. It's hard to answer all the messages on a timely schedule. You know, Fiverr is timing, engaging these things, notifications, inbox messages. You need to get back to people quickly, and hiring someone to help you with the communication part of things is extremely I won't say easy, but it is extremely accessible for someone to come in, learn a little bit about your business, learn the answers to questions, maybe use some quick responses to help, and jump in. That's where I would start to look if I were you, unless your business, like you mentioned, editors. I don't know what kind of editing you're looking for, but maybe you're looking for people to do the work. It'd be much easier for you to keep doing the work and hire somebody to help you with communication. Now, where did I find these people? I'll tell you not just where I've had success finding them, but where I have found them. Only 2 places. The first place that I used to hire someone, actually my first VA that I ever hired to help do anything with my Fiverr account or my business, I hired her through an agency called Belay. And Belay is a very good agency. They took my needs and they matched me up with a person. This is not a sponsorship. They don't even know I'm mentioning this, but Belay, you can sponsor me if you want. And it was a great match. But the problem is I was paying double the hourly rate that I would if I went out and found her on my own, because they're the liaisons to the relationship. Eventually, I ended up buying her out of her contract with Belay so I could pay her a little more than she was getting paid by Belay and less than I was paying Belay. Funny little way things work when there's a third party involved. But overall, it was better for me to just work directly with her. And that's why after that scenario, though I got a great candidate, and she worked with me even up till this year she was working with me. That's why I think it's better to find people in your life to hire. That's what I do. I've got family members who are very smart, intelligent, and capable. I've got friends who are smart, intelligent, and capable. People that I've gone to different things with and know from places, so I can evaluate their integrity in the background and then kind of say, hey, I think you might be a great fit for this. I've never hired a person on my team other than the person I hired through the service, through Belay, that I didn't already have a relationship with. And that's brought me, in most cases, I think I've got 6 out of 7 right. Only had 1 bad experience, but in most cases, it's been great because I think I have the ability to, like I said, observe them in the background. I've got some discernment about their life, their quality of work, their work ethic, what kind of standards they hold themselves to. And it's very important to know those things before you hire someone. And you just can't get that from an interview. So that's what I've done. That's what I found success in. The problem is if it goes wrong, if you're wrong, if they're lazy and they do a bad job, or they continually mess things up and maybe you're not the best at managing them and expectations aren't met and you have to let them go, that severs a tie. That breaks sometimes a friendship, sometimes a family relationship. It's very hard to maintain things after that happens. And I can speak to that from experience as well. So So you have to be careful, but I've had great success hiring the people in my life that are smart, capable, quality people. You just have to do a really good job of picking the best ones and convincing them to come help you. So that's a really long answer to a really great question, Kristen. We're going to talk about that more in the future. Thanks for your question. Mohammed Hidji asks, I know that 99% of Fiverr freelancers have this issue, time management. Muhammad, I'll say it's a hard thing. I don't know that 99% of people struggle with it, but a lot do struggle with it. You're right. He says, how do you organize your schedule? I'm always behind on my deadlines, and that makes me always request delivery time extensions. So related to this, does requesting delivery time extensions have an effect in a negative way on my ranking? I'll answer the second one first because it's the easiest. I've asked and I've experienced that requesting time extensions do not negatively affect your ranking directly. However, if they maybe somehow cause people to be less satisfied with your service because you always have to request an extension, you can't do it within the time frame, that could lead to a bad review. So it might indirectly negatively affect your rankings, but requesting an extension and having someone accept that in no way, shape, or form seems to affect your rating or ranking of that gig. So that's good. The second thing is, how do you manage your schedule? You need to figure out how much time you have to give and how much time each project or each incoming project is going to take up. And the way I used to do this in the beginning when it was just me is I would use a simple schedule. I would be able to estimate by the amount of work that was coming in how much time I had to put in to complete that. And I would place it on a calendar. I would say, okay, I had X amount hours of work come in yesterday. I'm going to place it on the next slot in my calendar. And I could see with relative ease how many slots in my calendar I had left until I got behind the promised delivery date that I was giving people. And sometimes it meant I extended my delivery date on the gig so that new ones that came in, instead of, 7-day turnaround, they'd be on 14-day turnaround because, I was booked up. And a lot of people do that. They vary their delivery time on their gig page as demand really requires them to. So that's one way to do it. I think it's better to do something like that, set the expectation before you start, rather than having to send extensions all the time, because I think it's hard to get some buyers to accept extensions. They don't understand it. And it also just makes you look like you weren't prepared to cover their order, unless something happens like, there's an emergency or an unexpected circumstance. Use those things when that happens. But by and large, I think you should adjust your turnaround time when you're sending custom offers, or maybe even on your gig page, just to make sure that those things are taken care of before the order starts. So I hope that helps, and hope that can help you get a handle on your time management. A very, very important part of being a freelancer is managing your time well. So get a to-do list that you like, get a calendar that you like, use those things, fill them in as you go. Mather asks, how can I share my gigs effectively on social media? Can it really help me get traffic? Well, I don't know. Do you have a good social media profile? Do you have a lot of people following you? People ask this all the time. Hey, can I really drive traffic to my gigs on Fiverr through social media? Yeah, if you've got a lot of followers, if people listen to you, if you have a presence on social media, you can get people to do anything from buy marshmallows to shoes to get them to visit a website or watch a video. It's all about your following and prowess on a platform. If you've got 12 followers and they're mainly your family, your mom's probably not going to go to Fiverr and buy your gig. You need to have a broad range of people that maybe are looking for what you're offering in your social media feed in order for that to be effective. So I'll say that sharing your gigs on social media is only as effective as your social media profile and presence is. A lot of people just don't have a social media profile set up to face the public, meaning an audience that would buy from them. It's mainly family and friends. Unless your audience is, or your customers are family and friends. If they're constantly needing the thing you're selling, well, then sell to your family and friends. But it just depends on what kind of following you have, what kind of reputation you have, how useful your social media profile is, to really determine how easily or how effective it'll be to drive people to your Fiverr gig from there. And I'll say that maybe it's worthwhile building a public-facing profile, or building building your audience in a way on social media that'll drive more traffic over there? Something to consider, but one is only as effective as the other. Thanks for your question, Mather. Moksha asks, how do I manage 50 plus orders at once? Bravo, 50 plus orders. For example, they ask, my niche is video production and there are very few processes involved. How do I keep track of everything? This is a really, really good question, because as you grow on Fiverr, eventually the Fiverr queue and the tools provided in the dashboard are not enough for you to keep up with things. I'll be the first to say that I've looked at dozens of different software project management platforms. It's really hard to find one that fits your process exactly. I've used a handful of them, and none of them are as good at helping you keep track of what's due and when as the Fiverr dashboard. So that's really good. But the truth is, Moksha, that as your business grows, so does your tool belt, or so should your tool belt. You'll need an outside software management program, something not quite a CRM, because you're not managing a relationship, but you need a project management software. I used Wrike for a while, Wrike. It was very capable. Needed to do some workarounds for my business. I currently use Monday. I have used several others in the past that didn't quite work as well, but really the only way I could tell if they worked well or not is by jumping in and using them for 30, 60, 90 days and really trying to tailor them to my process as a creative. Same for you. Even though you don't have a lot of processes, it may help you just to keep a date or a list. I used to use Wunderlist. It was a wonderful app in the early days, and I could have a little list entry for each project I needed to do and put a due date on it in there, attach little items. Wunderlist doesn't exist anymore, sadly, but there are other to-do list softwares that are free or cheaper, on the cheaper side, that you could use for this. I would say try some things out. Try starting with free or cheap tools, seeing if there's anything that fits your needs that's simple, because the more complicated, the more difficult it is to get off the ground. But try something simple. Try to get something going there, but you will need something away from Fiverr to manage all the details and all the assets that come with something like video production. So I'm in a similar field, so I feel you. Thank you for your question. Rosemary Babu asks, should I delete a gig that has 1 or 2 not so great reviews or stars and replace it with the same service? Rosemary, I think you're asking the wrong question here. The question is not should I get rid of this gig? The question is, why are you getting bad reviews? 1 or 2 not so great. How many reviews do you have? If you have 5 reviews and 1 or 2 of them are not so great, that could be 40, 50% of your reviews. And so in that case, you're basically at 0 anyway. It really wouldn't hurt you to start over. But if you've got 100 reviews and 1 or 2 of them are not so great, that's not really hurting you the way you think it is. It's not really affecting you to the degree you think it is. We had this conversation in the comments last week about how we get past bad reviews. I've got a video on this as well. That's not something I would really encourage you to do. I think you're going around the issue. The issue is, why did I get those bad reviews? How do I improve my service? How do I get started on things that are going to take me onward and upward? I think I see this a lot. People looking like, I had one mistake. I'm going to start a new account. I'm going to delete my gig and start over. It's just not it's not the best idea. It's not an easy way through, and it's probably not going to lead you to success, because you might get to the same point with the next gig and then you get another bad review and think, I'll just start over, and you keep starting over and over and over. It just doesn't make much sense. So I would look for a way to work your way out of this hole. I don't think they're affecting you as much as you think they are, unless you only have a few reviews, in which case you're just getting started. But try to work your way out of it first. See how that goes. Hopefully that helped. Mohammed asks, he says, very nice video. Really love it. Hey, thanks, Mohammed. Really love your question. And he says, I can't figure out how pricing should work for unique projects. Can you help me out with pricing for unique projects? My guess is that what he's asking about is a project that's a little beyond the scope of what you offer. It's outside of the box of what's normal, maybe the packages you have put together. And the truth is, I can't answer that question directly because I don't know your business. I don't know your niche. I don't know what all you put into your projects or your pricing. What I would say is you need to evaluate how much time you're going to put into it. That's what I do. When somebody comes with an out-of-the-box project, I'll try to equate it to current pricing. So for instance, I create animation videos and I've got a price per 30-second chunk of video. If someone asks me to do something that's not just a plain animation video and doesn't fit into a block of time, what I'll do is say, how much work is this equivalent to? Is this equivalent to a 30-second video or less? Or is this equivalent to a 60-second video or less? And then I can say, okay, well, if it's about the same amount of work as I would put into a 30-second video, well, then the price should be the same. You can use your current services to kind of play against that unique project to help price it out. I would say, honestly, though, as a freelancer, somebody who's been doing this for 10 years, it's a feel thing. You get a feel for where you are, what it's going to take, and most of the time I can just come up with those prices, those costs right off the top of my head very quickly, because I can see, compared to what I do have a solid price for, here's how this stacks up price-wise. So hopefully that helps you, and I think being creative and flexible with your pricing like that is going to help you win more gigs, but always be careful when you're stepping out of what you offer for something unique, that you're not stretching it just to get the project, just to get the money. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit, and just let it pass you by. Thanks for the question. Amelia asks, hey Joel, hey, there are a few buyers of mine who don't bother to leave me reviews despite delivering a top quality service. What can I do? Well, Amelia, I would push back a little and ask, how do you know you're doing a top quality service? You're providing a top quality service. How do you know? If they're not leaving reviews, how can you be sure? Maybe the review says they didn't feel it was top quality. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying the review part of the process is something that happens when people are really satisfied or really dissatisfied most of the time. There are not a lot of 2- and 3-star reviews on Google in the middle. There's a lot of 1-star and 5-star. Typically, depending on the quality of a product or service. People don't really think about reviews when things are middle of the road, kind of mediocre. So that's part of it. I would ask you to evaluate yourself honestly and say, was it top quality? Were they happy? And if they were, then you have to ask yourself, did I remind them or give them the opportunity to realize they could leave me a review? We've talked about this many times. You can't ask people to leave you a specific review, meaning you can't say, please leave me a positive review, leave me a 5-star review. That's not good. Don't do it. But you can say, please take the time to leave me a rating below. These ratings are very important, and they tell Fiverr what you thought of my service. You could say something like that. And if you're not saying that in every delivery message, then you're not reminding your buyer what's important. Sometimes buyers buy one thing on Fiverr, it's their first time, they never come back or whatever. They just don't know the process. If you're not reminding them, then you're missing an opportunity to get a review. And so be careful about how you're doing that. Read up on the TOS, take those tips. I've got other videos that we talk about this very thing in them, but the truth is it's either because they don't want to leave a review, they're not super satisfied, or you're just not reminding them. Because some people don't leave reviews simply because they don't know how important it is, or that they even can, surprisingly enough. And our last question today comes from Scion Gaming. Scion Gaming always asks some great questions, and he got another one in here this week. He asks, how do I write a persuasive description for my gigs? What do I include in gig descriptions to entice buyers to click that order button? That's a really great question, and I've got an entire video about how to create a great gig description, even a template that I've used to write good gig descriptions. But the truth is, your gig video is more important than your gig description for helping people to click that order button. The gig description is often unread, but if it is read, it should be simple, to the point, and have only the main details you need to communicate about pricing, turnaround time, or other important items related to ordering from you. You don't need to give people a backstory on, I was born on a cloudy day in 1983 in the New York City skyline. People don't care about that. They want to know the details. What are you going to do for me? How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? What qualifies you to do this job for me? More often than not, your gig video is going to speak more loudly about your qualifications and quality of work. The description is simply for, let's just call them details, pricing, turnaround time, rates, things like that. So keep it simple, keep it as short as you possibly can, or as long as it needs to be. Make sure that it gives people the information they need without having to search for it. That will help them click the order button. Hopefully that was helpful. Hey, thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Again, if you have a question for next Friday's video, leave it for me in the comments down below. Can't wait to see them, can't wait to answer them for you, and I'm looking forward to continuing our journey in helping you become the best possible Fiverr sellers you can be. Hey, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. You can subscribe for more videos right over there, and there's actually a playlist of videos right there that would really be great for you if you're looking for more tips on how to become a top-rated seller on Fiverr. So until next time, keep doing, because the future favors the doers.